Welcome to A Slice of Therapy. This podcast was created with Anchor. And if you've not heard of Anchor, let me explain. It's free. It's a really easy way to make a podcast. And it helps me because I can just do this every day directly into my phone, because there's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. So if you fancy making a podcast too, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. One of the things that we're kind of hardwired to do as humans is to look for problems. And in fact, there's been all sorts of research done that where you kind of hook people up to these brain machines that have a look at what happens in your brain at various things. The brain considers a problem much more significant than, say, something shiny and new and desirable. So you kind of show somebody a problem, or you show them, say, a red Ferrari. As desirable as many people find a red Ferrari, it's the problem that will really light up the brain systems. It's the problem that the brain really hooks onto much more powerfully. And there's good reason for that, obviously, because if something new comes into our environment and it's a problem, then it makes sense that we focus on that, because we need to decide what the problem is. We need to decide the extent of the problem, how threatening it is. Because evolutionarily speaking, something comes in that's new, we need to check out its significance. We need to check out how big a problem it might be. Because, back in the day, it might have eaten us. And the result of that, though, is that we tend to have a bias towards looking for the negative. We tend to have a bias as humans to look for the problems, to latch onto problems. And while that can often be helpful, it can also kind of get in the way in terms of missing the things that we're actually doing well. Because in the midst of any day, even if things are going pretty lousy, there will always be things that we can be pleased with ourselves about. There's always going to be things that we're doing well. And so in this episode, I want to invite you to ask that question from time to time. And it is kind of a thing that we need to consciously do, intentionally do. We'll find problems because our brain is kind of built to find problems because it needs to in order to keep us safe. But finding what's going well needs us to kind of consciously and intentionally ask that question. And so in this episode, I'm going to invite you to do that. And to think to yourself that no matter how things are at the moment, amidst all the kind of bad stuff and problematic stuff, what is it that is actually going well? And it might be a tiny little thing. Amidst all the darkness, there might be this little bright spark shining through. It might even be so small as that you can barely see it, but still, it's useful to know that it's there and to identify what it is, and even identify how it was that you created, even amidst all that darkness, that little ray of light. And so you can ask this question in terms of life generally, but you can kind of drill down into various segments of life. You can say, well, what's going well in my career? What's going well with my finances? What's going well with my health? What's going well with my learning? What's going well with my relationship? What's going well with my friendships? What's going well with my creativity? What's going well in terms of play and joy? And so this is a question that's very versatile and adaptable, that in any situation, whether things are going well or not generally, you can still ask that question in pretty much every situation to try and find what are the things in there which are kind of, if you like, the green shoots of recovery. And by drilling down in that way, it's a nice way to be able to just kind of gather your resources, to notice that in amongst things that might not be going so well, that might be feeling a little bit lousy, still, we've had the power to create some things that are going well for us. And that might be going against the grain in terms of everything else that's happening. But still, one could argue that when things are particularly lousy, that's even more important to spot the fact that we do have the power to create some good stuff, that we do have the ability to identify that actually there are still some things in there that are going well, that are still some ways that we're acting which we're actually pleased with ourselves about. And one of the reasons why that's important is because it alerts us to the fact that it's never all or nothing. It's never all bad and it's never all good. That even when things seem tough, there's going to be something in there that we've created, even if we don't realise that it's us that's created it, because, as I've said in other podcast episodes, we tend to discount our role in the good stuff that happens. But nonetheless, to notice that it's not actually all or nothing, that even in a bad situation, even when we're feeling down or rotten or lousy, that we can still notice that there are some things that are going well. And as well as providing a little bit of nuance, it also allows us to ask the question, well, how did that happen? How did that thing that's going well happen at all? Because often we see change as having to do something new. And yet, what's probably more true is that change is about doing more of the good stuff, expanding what that is going well so it fills up more of our life. And so it's a really powerful question. And like I say, a very versatile question that you can ask in pretty much any situation, irrespective of what's happening here. What's going well? And it's important because we'll spot the problems anyway. Our mind will latch on to the things that aren't going well. And so by taking a step back and looking at the other side of the story about what is actually going well, it gives us a wider perspective on what's happening in life. It's actually quite encouraging as well. And it gives us a foothold in terms of what the next step might be in order to ensure that that thing, even if it's only a tiny ray of light that is going well, it allows us that tiny foothold in terms of expanding that so more and more of it enters our life. So I'm going to leave you with that question. What's going well? Not just in life generally, but drilling down into career, finances, health, relationship, friendships, home life, where you live, your environment. You can use it pretty much anywhere. And so enjoy the question and enjoy the answers and get curious about how those things that are going well, even if there's only a few of them, how they happened to be going well in the first place, so that you can start the process of expanding it and bringing more of that into life. So thanks for listening. I'll be back with another one tomorrow. If you'd like to work with me directly, I'm Alun Parry, and you can find out more at liverpoolpsychotherapy.co.uk. Please share the episode as well if you find it useful so other people can benefit. And do subscribe to the podcast. It's completely free. And if you'd like to, you can even hop on over to iTunes and give the show a rating as well. So as I say, thanks for listening. I'll be back again with another one tomorrow.